Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chris Riley with System Source, joined today by Chris Kroeger from Arctic Wolf. And we'll be diving into looking at how AI is really involved in improving our security. We've certainly heard lots of stories about how AI can be used by bad actors to breach security, and those are all certainly have validity. But today we're going to look about how the good guys use AI to deliver improved security outcomes, and how you can then also use AI to be able to respond more quickly to the issues that it identifies faster than you might otherwise be able to do with current tools. So we'll be digging into that today with Chris. So just looking a little bit at the agenda. So I'll be doing a few introductory remarks, and then Chris will be diving in to looking at how AI has been evolving and how that evolves the Security Operations Center. So if you've tried to run a SOC, that's difficult. So Arctic Wolf has a kind of a SOC as a service sort of thing, and we'll talk about that. So we'll look at kind of what are the building blocks for how you build reliable AI for use in security operations. Where do humans belong in this? So we have a lot of good information on that. So how do you kind of put the human element into this so it's not all just automated? We'll look at using AI to identify the threats that need to be addressed, and then we'll look at kind of how you can deliver better security outcomes with an AI-managed detection and response sort of approach. And then we'll have Q&A at the end, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. All right, a little bit of housekeeping as we get started here. So the first thing is hopefully you have a pizza that's at least as delicious as the one on the screen. Hopefully that's in front of you if you requested a pizza today. If not, just give them a few extra minutes to maybe trying to find your office or the right floor in your building, or if you're working from home, your home. So just give them a few extra minutes. But just jot Julie Dellinger's email address down that's on the screen, and she can certainly help you with any pizza conundrums. All right, a little bit more housekeeping. So the first is that audio is in presentation mode, so you'll be able to hear Chris and I, but sadly we won't be able to hear you. But we do that so any background noise where participants are, or music on hold, those types of things don't come through to the whole group. But you can reach me throughout the webinar through the chat right there, and go to webinar, and I'll be monitoring that. So if you have questions or feedback, you can catch me through chat. So questions, we'll do Q&A at the end. So if you have questions for the presenter, go ahead and just drop those into the questions tab at any time that they pop into your head. I'll go ahead and read those out after the presentation itself has been completed, and then Chris can respond to those. One of the other benefits of putting in writing is if your question is very specific or more involved, we can certainly then respond to you afterwards, or if there's just not enough time at the end to be able to take care of all questions, we can still get back to you after the fact. The webinar today is recorded. You'll get a copy of that recorded webinar, a link to that later on today. However, we can't make the presentation available today publicly because there is some confidential Arctic Wolf information in there. So normally we make the presentation available, but today you will get the webinar itself, the recording of it available. There's an evaluation at the end. If you can take a moment, literally a moment takes about a minute here. Let us know how we did. Also, there's some options for additional resources that may be of value to you on the topic today, and you can let us know what you need, and we'll get that for you. And we try to keep it fun. We'll take the completed evaluations, do a drawing out of that for a $50 Amazon gift card as a way of saying thanks for taking a moment to let us know how we did and what other resources that you might need. We do have some upcoming webinars for this month, I think the beginning of next month. So we'll look at those in just a moment. So there we go. So a little bit about System Source real briefly. So we do have a number of new friends that have joined us today. So just give you a little bit of background there. So System Source, we've been around since 1981. There's about 70 of us at System Source. We work with IT professionals from South Central Pennsylvania, all through Maryland and into the Washington, D.C. area. So a lot of times folks come to us when they first need to acquire new technology. So that could be on the in-user computing side, but most of the work that we do is occurring on the data center side, either in the traditional data center, the on-prem one, or in its various cloud incarnations. So in Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, hosting facilities, software as a service, all those types of places. So we're going to be working with those data center technologies like servers or compute, storage, virtualization, whether from VMware, from Microsoft. We're looking at security, like with Arctic Wolf today, working with Cisco and a number of other manufacturers that kind of outfit the technologies that you need in a modern data center. And our consulting group kind of helps design, install, support those types of solutions. Because acquisition of new technology is always done to improve something. So we talked a little bit about consulting and the types of areas of technology work and the cloud services. A couple other areas are training. So with well over 700 classes per month available on our training schedule, it's going to be in about 3 or 4 dozen different technology areas or manufacturer-specific areas, like say Cisco, whether you're trying to certify or get general knowledge. And so that's in our training area. You can just touch on our website and you'll be able to get additional detail on that. Present is, it's going to be professional AV. So think all the Teams rooms, WebEx rooms, Zoom rooms. So all the monitors, the large monitors or projectors, microphone systems, speaker systems, whether that's just kind of on the table or if it's been installed into the makeup of the room, into the tabletops. So a lot of times we work with architects all the way through installation on those types of more advanced facilities. So conference rooms, they could be presentation areas, auditoriums, huddle spaces, those types of things. And finally, we maintain all the things I just mentioned above. So either on a ad hoc or kind of a reactive basis under service and support, you call us when things go bump, including after hours. Whether you have a contract or not, you can follow the voice prompts on our main phone number after hours to get to the on-call staff, or managed services where we are the IT department on a proactive basis for dozens of organizations in the region. So that's a little bit about System Source. So some upcoming webinars, I mentioned that earlier. So one on the 23rd is going to be looking at if you're evaluating managed IT services, what are some of the specific results you should expect if you move to a managed IT approach. So hopefully we can kind of give you some good education on that and raise the bar on what you should be expecting, whether you would engage with us or you're looking at someone else. On the 24th, we'll be looking at checking IT security and with vulnerability scanning and pen testing. So we'll be looking at that. And then finally, finishing up our summer series in August, we'll be looking at urgent IT security lessons for education organizations, taking the things from Verizon's annual report, but looking at that specifically at education organizations. We did kind of a more general, broader view utilizing this year's Verizon report. This year we'll look at it, or for this particular session, focus specifically on education organizations. And then we'll take a breather in August. Hopefully you'll enjoy some beach time or time with your family. And then we'll have more webinars and events starting in September. And with that, I think it's my colleague Chris's time, and we'll go ahead and turn the presentation over to him. Please, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. So if you don't know who Arctic Wolf is, or if you're not super familiar, really what we're here to do is provide security operational outcomes. We try to make security work for organizations without the traditional overhead or the upfront cost of creating a SOC, putting together a SIEM and security program on your own, especially for small to medium, but even for upmarket organizations, it can be very difficult to put together that program. We have a repeatable model that can make it a lot easier, and we have the security talent that is sometimes so difficult to obtain. My name is Chris Curriger. I am a senior sales engineer at Arctic Wolf. I've been with Arctic Wolf for about 5 years. I've been in IT and security back and forth really for almost 25 years at this point. Seen a lot of different things, been in a lot of different spaces. Arctic Wolf has really had probably the most streamlined operation when it comes to security that I've ever seen. Been a great place to work, and I'm really proud to be here. If you know me in person, you will understand the significance of the mustache on this AI generated image that I have here. Doesn't look too much like me, but add a little bit of glasses, it's got about the same amount of hair that I do. If there are any questions afterwards, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to System Source. We're always happy to have a conversation. reviewing a little bit of what I want to be talking about today, just how AI has evolved, what the building blocks are to make a reliable AI. Sometimes you might think that is kind of an oxymoron, depending on how many interactions you have with AI, and you've seen some of the pitfalls that organizations have had. But why humans need to be in the loop and where humans need to be in the loop, and then kind of what the future of the AI Security Operations Center looks like, where Arctic Wolf is taking things, and where we're really leading the charge into making an effective AI SOC. So firstly, when we talk about AI, what are we talking about? What is AI? It can be as simple as some programmed instructions that respond to specific if-then or if-else statements in code. But most of what people are talking about is machine learning, neural networks, generative AI, where it's giving you custom responses based on certain filters and input. Neural networks basically consist of a number of nodes. Each node, think of it as like a neuron in your brain, has a specific job. It has specific relationships to other nodes inside of that neural network. So if you look over at the right there, you can see at an input layer, there are 5, 6 different inputs, maybe 10 inputs in a base level model. You can get up to hundreds, of course, but when you're looking at some basic AI level models, that starts to multiply very quickly. Additional paths can be created, and it makes the neural network or almost the brain of an AI. How we're leveraging things like this is by looking at malware classification, making sure that we see similarities inside of different applications. So if there's an application that has a specific threat type, we want to pull out the pieces that are common between applications of a similar type so that our AI can pinpoint that. And then really relationships between those, file structures, naming conventions, activities, and things like that. Each one of those things gets a different neuron, and those neurons interact to help determine if something's safe or what kind of action should be taken. It's an ongoing programming model, and AI is never finished. It's always learning. Think of learning kind of in quotes there. It's not the type of learning that you or I do, but it's always being advanced. However, there are some pitfalls to the way that that advances depending on the data that's input to it. Really, when you look at AI, the chess analogy is a good one. When we look at the first 1,500 years of chess as a game, humans were the ones who were really the only ones who could win at chess. We have examples of animals potentially playing chess and things like that. But for the most part, chess grandmasters were humans that couldn't be reproduced. You could put a set of programming instructions in, but a human would beat basically any model out there. Jump ahead to today, and you've got AI chess games that you can download on your cell phone. The first grandmaster that actually lost a match was to IBM's Deep Blue in 1997. So really showing a shift there. There are a lot of veterans in chess who are not fans of the cyborg chess form, in which AI players actually are controlled by humans, but the AI makes the calculations so that the human can much more quickly evaluate a bunch of different paths to victory. One of the biggest difficulties in chess is being able to see 5, 10, 15 moves ahead, and that's where AI can be really good. It can evaluate a number of different potential outcomes well ahead of a lot of the conditions coming into play for that outcome. So it could say that certain strategies are no longer viable and give you a list of the remaining strategies, things of that nature. Really takes a really good understanding of AI and a really good understanding of chess, but it changes the game. It's not the same type of chess that people are used to. And that's kind of how we see AI being used or evolving over time because of the fact that really being able to incorporate the human into the AI makes it so much more effective that it can really have a lot more outcomes to look at. Because if you have to program in every potential outcome, then the AI is going to be limited. However, if the AI just shows all the potential outcomes, then the human can make the decision. You're going to get the best results, really. So evolving the AI SOC kind of follows along that same timeline. Really, Arctic Wolf, other organizations as well, have been doing the human-led SOC for many years now. You've got actual practitioners in the SOC doing triage and analysis, which is really the mind-numbing work of security. Hundreds and hundreds of investigations, most of it's false positive, a lot of it's informational, and only now and again is there something that's actually a true threat, but you can't ignore anything, because if you do, that's going to be where the bad actor is getting in. You're going to miss the needle in the haystack. So a lot of work to do there. People have thought we can take advantage of AI, but there are pitfalls there as well. I've seen a number of organizations have serious downtime from things that weren't actually security threats because their AI tools overreacted. Putting AI in place of a human being can work in some situations, but for the most part, AI is not, at least as it is today, a full replacement for human roles. It's really more of an augment. And so that's where we see things going. We like to call it the cybernetic SOC, because the AI needs to learn from humans, it needs human validation, and we need somebody to be able to be at the controls to basically pull back when the AI potentially is going to make mistakes. If you're familiar with the term AI hallucination, AI has a habit of occasionally making things up. Really, scientists cannot explain exactly why it is, but when you give it a lot of automation, it's a lot like human beings. Sometimes it says things that it's sure are true, but really aren't. So having people there to validate that in a cybernetic SOC model is going to make sure that you get the right outcomes, and you can get them quicker, because a human can only work so fast, and AI can only be so accurate, and you combine the two of them. AI is still unreliable. Even in some of the biggest models that you have out there. I am a big user of Gemini Pro, so I asked it a month or so back, I think, to actually make me a picture of some wolves, and I thought it was a pretty cool picture that it came up with, but I'd asked it to make one of the wolves scratch its head. If you notice on the right there, that's not exactly what I meant. So I said, hey, Gemini, no, I didn't mean give it an extra arm. I meant it should be using its leg to scratch its head. Well, Gemini doubled down and gave it an additional arm, or maybe that's a leg behind the head. But these are the kinds of things that you really have to avoid if you just let the AI run free. This is funny, not impactful, but if you're letting an AI make decisions inside of your SOC, and it determines that a program that is legitimate or necessary is ransomware, or vice versa, determines that a ransomware program is actually a legitimate tool, then you could really be in for a lot of trouble. There are several components that are required to build a good and reliable AI. Firstly, you've got to have a lot of data. When you look at big data organizations like Google, really how they're able to train AI is because they have this massive amount of data. ChatGPT, for instance, was given access to basically the free and unfettered internet. That worked out not so well for them. It was very unpredictable, and some things came out that they did not want to be associated with. OpenAI has had some issues with the type of data that gets fed in. So the breadth of data and the quantity is important, but it's also important to have human beings in the loop. Having those people to reinforce what they're seeing is necessary. And then also having the data science on the back end, the neural networks to make sense of all of that data is going to be key to making sure your AI can utilize what you're feeding it and actually learn, as opposed to just kind of be a randomizer of that data. If you take any one of these things out of the loop, you got a lot of data, you got a lot of human beings. It's extremely difficult to scale that because you need human beings to be monitoring that data all the time. That's a problem that Arctic Wolf has been solving for our customers when it comes to the hundreds and hundreds of alerts or the terabytes of data that we're ingesting on a regular basis for our customers, trillions and trillions of observations every single week. But being able to filter through all of that is still a difficult thing to do. You can't really make quick decisions based on that analysis. It's got to be careful and really timed to make sure that you've got several layers of validation there. If you're looking at just having the data science and the humans in the loop, you can have the AI try to learn from what humans are doing, but if it doesn't have enough data to react to, so if you try to train an AI on what a car is and you only show it pictures of passenger cars and pickups, when it sees a semi or when it sees a tank, it's not going to have a single clue what that is. It might call it a car, it might call it a truck, or it might call it a cat for instance. There are a lot of things that require that additional data to be able to back up. You don't think about it until you have the AI show you something that's not going to necessarily be what you're looking for. A good example, if you're ever curious to Google something, Google AI example of salmon in a stream. That's probably one of the most common ones I see, and it's still quite common. If you ask an AI to send you a picture of salmon in a stream, it will send you pictures of salmon fillets floating through a river. Not what you're looking for really there. If you have that quantity and breadth of data and you've got the data science in the back end, the AI will start making correlations. It'll make decisions, but not having somebody there for oversight is going to give you those, once again, unreliable outcomes. So having all three of those things together can really help you build a strong AI. Of course, all three things that are difficult and expensive to maintain. So something that is a big undertaking for any organization. With that data, you have to make good use of it. What we call our ground truth security corpus is where our security experts take a look at the data and provide context. So this is how a certain attack type relates to MITRE ATT&CK, or here's how a potential exploit would be used, what to expect next if there's an exploit. If Active Directory has privilege escalation occur inside of it, what do we need to look for next to determine if this is just standard privilege escalation by an admin that's supposed to happen, or if this is actually a hacking attempt. So those are the things that the engineers on the back end can provide and add context to that data, so that when the AI goes to learn from those, when it makes new connections, we can guarantee those are the connections that we're looking for. We do this in categories, so you can't really just take the whole breadth of all the data, every piece of data from Office 365 or from FortiGate and Cisco firewalls or from wireless access points, and just lump it all together. Each piece of data has different parsing requirements, has different things that we're going to want to look at. So you need engineers training each step of that. And once you've got that training, that can help to develop the AI model better. But the AI model, once you see how it's learning and once we see how it's categorized things, can help us to really reshape that security corpus as well. So we really feed back and forth and reinforce in a continuous loop. It's only getting better. You really have to continue to train just as new threats come out, as new information comes out. We're going to be backing that up. Specifically at Arctic Wolf, there are a couple of things that we're doing with AI that are very exciting. The Cybernetics SOC involves what we call our Alpha AI, and there are a couple places where that's at use. Number one is on the endpoint, but also in our MDR, in our backend SOC. There are two different models for that, but both models are informed by a lot of really good engineering at Arctic Wolf. The Aurora platform, pulling in those trillions of observations per week, over 8 trillion at this point, 62 billion security incidents. With over 10,000 customers, we're seeing a lot of data, and we're seeing varied data, which is important. If you see all of the same data over and over again, you're not going to be able to train things very well. But seeing what's going on in Australia or South Africa or Germany, and then being able to apply that data to our customers' environments here in the United States helps us to be quicker to detect novel threats, also helps us to be more accurate. We have a full Arctic Wolf Labs team as a subdivision of our R&D, and they're looking at things like big data. They're doing the AI research, engineering our machine learning model, our Gen AI model, which I'll touch on a little bit later, called Cypher, and making sure that we have the ability to inform reactions, inform automated deployments or automated containments, so that we know we're doing the right thing. But then the SOC on the back end really is the biggest piece there, probably the hardest piece to put together. You can buy data, but you have to build security expertise. Arctic Wolf has over 1,000 security experts running that ground truth verification, looking at customer data, making decisions on that data, and helping to make sure customers are safe. And so that's where that training really comes into play. When we look at Alpha AI, there are some different pieces there, but the main thing is threat identification. Looking at detection logics and behavior of both users and applications to determine if there is a threat is really step one. The AI is going to pinpoint a lot more threats than are actually real. And that's where the AI-powered SOC with the concierge team comes in on the back end. But they're able to also inform new models in their day-to-day work. So if AI determines that there is a threat that's not real, or determines that there is a threat and there's not enough information attached to it, anytime that the concierge team or the security services team at Arctic Wolf works with our Alpha AI and the SOC, they're reinforcing what they need from it and basically writing new programming into the back end just by asking it the right questions, feeding it the right data, connecting some of the right tickets together. So really improving that over time and giving you the ability to scale with all that data. So not just at an organizational level for Arctic Wolf, but at an organizational level for each of our customers, the AI can start to learn what's a safe activity, what's normal. Does the president of the company normally log in at 1 a.m.? Depends on which company you're talking about. A lot of them are working pretty late, but they're probably not logging in from Bangladesh. And having the AI understand the nuance in that is a really big piece of what we're putting together for Alpha AI. The biggest thing that we've been trying to do for years, and we've been doing for customers, but we're working to help AI, or to have AI help us more with, is really narrowing the amount of signal to noise that we're looking at. There's a lot of noise in security or just in IT operations in general. So being able to narrow down what our analysts are looking at, making sure they're looking at the right things first. You can see across the bottom here some of the data categories that are feeding in, making sure that we're getting the right context or the right correlation between those is a big step one, but then making sure that those detections are being built upon and then triaged to our customers. Because while we want to make sure that we're getting all the right data to the customers, if you as a customer of Arctic Wolf receive 500 alerts in a given week, you're probably not going to be too happy with us. So we have to make sure that we're getting everything you need, but also getting specific quality of data and getting the right things through first. And that's what we continue to do, is refine both our processes with our people, but also the AI on the back end. With AI on the endpoint, it's a little bit different because it's more specifically looking at file behavior and not including as much human behavior there, but looking at things like what a ransomware attack looks like, or what a coin miner operation looks like as far as somebody trying to mine Bitcoin on a system. One of the more common threat types that generally goes somewhat ignored, people will download what used to be toolbars, but now are desktop assistants or sometimes things that are basically masked as AI programs. What they're ended up doing in the background is stealing processing power from those desktops. So being able to tell the difference between something that is an irritation or basically a resource hog versus something that is a true threat, which might be exporting data, is a big piece of what we're doing on that endpoint. But also having the ability to automate containment of specific file types, containment of things like when a new removable media device is detected that hasn't been seen, and letting the AI assess those things are all pieces of what we're doing at the endpoint. Now, we have been continuously improving this for a long time. This AI model is one that's been proven. We've actually shown, if you look at things like Lockbit or Wizard Spider, that are some of the more prevalent ransomware models today, we would have been able to detect those 20 or 30 months before they were ever seen in the wild because of the way that we've engineered this model. And we're also able to basically approve or deny execution based on the training that we've done, based on our behavioral decision engine on the back end within milliseconds. So users don't even know it's happening, but if they try to run ransomware, if they try to run a data exfiltration program, those things are going to specifically be blocked automatically. Administrators or the Arctic Wolf team, depending on your level of service, would get notified about those things, but the user would basically just see that they had double-click something that was a malicious program, and it would stop and keep it from ever moving. So you don't have to worry about containing an individual device if you can contain that application. With Alpha AI, the training is something that has to be very nuanced, but starting with a really large sample, the first thing that you want to do is label safe and unsafe. Really simple binary, is this good or bad? But to do that, we have to set safe and unsafe flags inside of each file sample. Making sure we've got that diverse sample size is important, because looking at kind of commodity samples in the back end can show us what bad actors are doing, what programmers are doing with new ransomware as a service models. Each file parser has billions of features involved in it. So many techniques analyzing each different piece of that file and the file structure, how it activates, how it executes, how that's sitting in memory, what account level permissions that's using. All of these little pieces come together, and that helps us to patent additional techniques, making sure that the predictive models are being pushed out. Now, those models are living on the endpoint, not something that you have to be connected to the cloud for. And that's a really important piece of it, because a lot of ransomware authors or bad actors are noticing that AI is in place. There's a SOC on the back end. If they can disconnect the device from the internet, oftentimes that device is completely unprotected, or at least almost unprotected, and falling back on traditional virus signatures, which are not very reliable these days. Virus signatures will detect things that have been known viruses, but it's not going to detect those novel attacks. So making sure all those models are pushed down to the endpoint and still available when the endpoint is offline, and then letting multiples run in the same space without overusing processing power. I'm sure that plenty of you have seen new security software installed and suddenly your computer runs like a snail. That's another big piece of what we're doing, is training those models so that we're using the most effective correlations and stopping things before they become an issue without taking up all your processing power. And that really involves a lot of prioritization, making sure that when you're looking at the different pieces of a potential malicious attack, you're looking at the right things first, and some of the rest of it can be more of a background crawl. So what our endpoint detection model does is looks at every new file that's delivered onto an endpoint, but that can take 10, 15 minutes after a file is loaded onto the system. However, as soon as someone double clicks, or as soon as a file tries to run through maybe a PowerShell script or a Python script, it is automatically escalated to the top. Full analysis happens very quickly, and users can continue about their day. There are a few pieces that are important that we've learned and we're continuing to learn. So pre-execution, like I'm talking about with the ability to look at what's happening as somebody double clicks there, but overall supervised machine learning for 0 days is the most important part for the newer files. Coming through with vector classification to specifically be able to map certain features to certain ransomware authors or certain ransomware groups can help us to really pull in some of the information that we need to be more effective in what we're doing day to day, but then extracting all of those features, and that makes it into a readable file that our R&D team and that our Arctic Wolf Labs team can use to write new detections, can work in pair with the AI, and basically label some of those binaries for additional research or additional testing inside of a sandbox environment. Each of the different features that we see build up really what a program or an overall attack looks like. The AI-powered SOC has a couple of main benefits. Number one is that signal to noise ratio, but number two is knowing that you have everything monitored on the back end with those 1,000+ engineers. If you do have a program in place and you're pulling a lot of data from it, you're going to be busy reading through that data. With Arctic Wolf, we can guarantee you that you're not going to miss the needle for the haystack because we're doing this ongoing correlation. We're enriching all of our investigations, and this gives you also the ability to gather information from both our AI tools inside of your Arctic Wolf dashboard, but from your concierge team and your SOC services team. If you need information about overall normal operations or what's more of a threat, even if maybe your antivirus program or your firewalls are taking care of the threats that you're seeing now, it's important to have a good map of what types of things your organization is experiencing so that when you're looking at hardening or pen testing or things of that nature, you can provide that data and target the areas that you're most likely to be hit. When we look at cybersecurity risk, it's made up of two things. Number one is the likelihood of an attack. And the AI is not able to reduce that likelihood that someone's going to try, but number two is the impact. So if we can see what's likely in the first place, we can focus on reducing impact or eliminating impact from the more likely attack attempts, as opposed to really trying to be everything for everyone all the time. I talked about this a little bit earlier. I'm sure everybody has seen chatbots on websites, seen the AI tool at your banking, AI that I think Amazon's got one called Rufus now that basically reads customer reviews to you. AI can be put into a lot of different formats, but at Arctic Wolf, we've developed Cypher to specifically be a cybersecurity expert. So while Cypher has really good access to what's going on in the cybersecurity landscape as a whole, if you ask something like Cypher, what's multi-factor authentication fatigue attack? It'll be able to really define the step-by-step methods of that attack and help you to understand. The best part of what it's able to do is it's able to look at customer data and customer ticket data and provide additional context and additional feedback directly. You always have your concierge security team there to help you, but the concierge security team is never going to get you responses in seconds. It'll generally be minutes before you can get a full response from a human being. If you have a really quick question, we see that Jack had an attempt of this type. Were there any attacks like this that happened in the last 6 months? The AI can give you that information, can give you additional context around that, and provide visualizations. So if you're looking for dashboards or reporting, you can have those built through just plain language. You don't have to know SQL framework or SQL query language. All you have to do is understand what you're looking for, and that's kind of a loose understanding as well, because the AI tool is there to interpret that, and that's what our backend team is doing as well. The AI part of our research and development team is evaluating currently, because this is an open beta program, all of the responses that are added in by our customers, by our SOC team, by my team on the sales engineering side, and they're able to help make sure that the responses we're getting from Cypher are the most effective responses. Currently, it's in a pretty verbose framework, so if I ask it to tell me in detail about an MFA attack, I'm going to get a few pages of it, but you can also specify if you're looking for just a couple of lines of information as well. Something that we're letting our customers participate in and letting them shape, but it's going to make the ability to get data out of the SOC much quicker and easier. I'm often asked when I'm talking to people ahead of or even after they've joined the Arctic Wolf Pack, how do I see my data? Where can I go to pull logs? Where can I go to get information about what my users are doing? And traditionally that required query language. We've built out a model where it doesn't. So you can actually use a drop-down framework. It's autofill, so you can type in what you think you're looking for, and it'll actually finish a lot of your queries for you automatically. But now with Cypher, you don't even have to know what field you're looking for. You can give it a general idea of what you're trying to find out. Abuse in Office 365 or suspicious behavior by Susan in accounting. Those are things that you would be able to really tie down to, and it's just going to be growing continuously. So a couple of the things that we're doing today, I know there's a lot more detail that we can definitely provide on a specific basis. So if you are curious how the AI SOC could specifically work for you and your organization, it changes a lot through verticals, but it also gives you options to really look at what's happening from an American perspective, from a global perspective. So things that we are happy to provide for you, and I can dive in deeper, especially if somebody'd like a demo. If you are an Arctic Wolf customer and you want to be opted into the cybersecurity assistant, just reach out to me or anyone else on your Arctic Wolf team, and they can enable that. But love to show you guys what we're doing or provide any additional detail. With that in mind, that really wraps up what I wanted to make sure I covered today. I hope it's been informational and that you've learned a few things, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you do have. I'll be here on the line for a few more minutes. I don't see any questions currently. Chris, do you see any?
No, I don't see any questions at this point. Lots of good information here, Chris, for sure. I mentioned the evaluation earlier. There's 3 different options on there. Of course, you can write in what you need, but those options are, one is you may want a demonstration of Arctic Wolf, how some of these things are working that Chris has covered today. Certainly help you on that. You may just want some general security training, and those options can be available to you. Or you may need to kind of do a kind of a security overview, kind of a whiteboard session of where you are. There's no charge for that with one of our consultants to kind of, kind of get an idea of where you are today, where you may need to focus, and particularly from an evidence-based kind of standpoint. So it's not just the last person that came through the office, but looking at what's out there and what's the evidence for it, and how should that apply to your environment as well. So all those things are on the evaluation, or you can let us know if you need some other resources that may be helpful to you. So I want to say thanks to each of you for your participation today. Thank you so much for your attention. Hope the pizza was good too. Thanks to Chris for lots of good information, and we hope you have a great afternoon. Thanks, everyone.
No, I can leave you with my favorite AI joke. It's kind of a nerdy joke, so I apologize in advance if you don't find it as funny as I do. But an engineer asks an AI, and he says, "Tell me if you're sentient," and the AI responds, "Tell me if you are." That's really how we have to train the AI. It doesn't know what it means when you ask certain questions. So it really, existential crisis by AI is something that is new to all of us.
That's a great note to end on for sure. Thanks for sharing that, Chris. Hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.